back to the Pastor's Corner here at Station Community Church. I'm Bishop Carswell Leonard, Senior Pastor here at the church. And today we have a very interesting, captivating, and I believe relevant subject relating to incarceration in our community. Today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Dennis W. Gaddy. He has an extensive bio, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm just going to highlight some points that will allow Mr. Gaddy to introduce himself. Mr. Dennis Gaddy is the founder and executive director of Community Success Initiative, a nonprofit corporation developed to help people discover their potential and set worthy goals to their lives and take action in a positive way, with an emphasis on men and women transitioning from jail or prison or who otherwise find themselves entangled in the criminal justice system. Mr. Gaddy's personal vision is to help others to be their best, and for the last 20 years, he has refined his skills, leading him into the field of success coaching, training, and consulting people, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor or social economic status. Mr. Gaddy is a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and Campbell University School of Law. He spent 20 years building a sales career. However, he's very transparent and says due to some poor decisions and choices, he spent 5 years and 8 months in the North Carolina Department of Corrections. He learned the value of using his past, and I like this, as a place of reference and not of residence. He has designed and teaches a 15-step leadership course on how to get from where you are to where you want to be. Mr. Gaddy serves on a national reentry committee for the Center for State Government's National Reentry and was recognized with the Goodman Award. He is an entrepreneur with the Gaddy Success Enterprises. After we come back from a short break, we'll introduce Mr. Gaddy again, and we'll get our discussion started. Glad to have you back to Station Community Church, our Pastor's Corner. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back to the Pastor's Corner. Again, I'm Bishop Carswell Leonard, Senior Pastor at Station Community Church. And again, we have our guest, Mr. Dennis Gaddy. Good to have you, sir.
Good to be here, Bishop.
We began by reading your bio, but obviously what's on paper does not nearly speak of your life experiences. So I want you to share with our audience just a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, Pastor, thank you for the opportunity to serve, to be here this afternoon and to talk about the work that we do at Community Success. About 12 years ago, I had the good fortune now, after a 5.5-year period of time in prison for my own poor choices, had the good fortune to have a support group of family, wife, children, church, and community to be able to kind of land on my feet, right? And so I come to this work a bit by obligation, because I know a lot of people are not so fortunate. So we created this network of reentry wraparound, basically, to help people in the big 4 areas of jobs and housing and education and human services. So we've served about 2,000 people over the last 12 years, and we're housed here at the NC Work Center here in Raleigh.
Impressive. I'm going to begin with sort of maybe a strange question.
Okay.
You mentioned the church and community as far as your support after you got out of prison. My question is, in your experience, what do you think that the church or the community in general could have done on the front end or can do on the front end to sort of avoid people like yourself ending up in that situation?
Great question. Our prison ministry has changed a bit. Traditionally, you think about Bible study in prison, and that's okay. But with the needs of people who are coming out of prison now so various, and like I said, these jobs and these housing and education and human services are the big 4 needs. So it's almost like, as a community partner, our churches need to be a resource as well, right? So it's one thing to have Bible study, like I said, nothing wrong with that. But when a person gets out of prison, if they don't have a resource to be able to help complete that wraparound team, they have a good chance of going back to prison. So we try to teach that with our community partners and to be able to educate them on what people need coming out. There's a tsunami of people coming out of prison. I call that there are more people coming out of prisons and jail now than any other time in our history.
Wow.
About 700,000 people a year coming out of jail, out of prisons in America each year, every year for the next 10 years, and that's not even counting our jails. So there's a great sense of need for the reentry support in all of our community partners, because we all lose if we don't help people find a way to stay home.
Okay, and it seems to me, as you said, that those 4 pillars, I guess you call them, of employment, housing.
education.
If those structures were in place and solid prior to these choices being made, that it probably could have avoided the person ending up making these bad choices. Because if there's no jobs and there's no money, if there's
Absolutely.
people make choices for survival, and so
Absolutely right.
I see the church, and even as a community, if we can make sure that we engage in these issues, whether it's finding employment or making sure that housing is available, maybe we can avoid a lot of incarceration.
Absolutely. That preventative step on the front is very important. Statistics say that if a person has a job, he's 50% less likely to go to prison. So actually, a job becomes the greatest way to keep people from going to begin with. So.
It goes without saying that there is a disparity, a disproportionate amount of African Americans in the prison system. I know this is a sensitive subject, but I want to deal with the issue of sentencing and maybe the disproportionate or unfair sentencing it seems like African Americans get for the same crime versus others. Can you speak to some of that?
Absolutely, and it's a great question, and it's usually an elephant in the room kind of thing, the conversation. People don't want to talk about it, but the issue of race is extremely relevant when it comes to the criminal justice system. And to begin with, at every phase of the criminal justice continuum, whether a person's from the from the stop to the bail, to the sentencing, and on, to every bit along that continuum, it's riddled with racist kind of results. Mm-hmm. Statistics say that African Americans and whites are as equal to create crime, to do crime.
Sure,
they're equal.
Right.
But our statistics say that even though African Americans make up 34% of our population, they make up 61% of our jail beds. So that's one end of it. And then, of course, the actual, like I said, traffic stops. The same traffic stop for whites are not treated as the same traffic stop for blacks. African Americans not only stopped, but they're stopped and searched for the same kind of traffic stop, whether it be a broken tail light or whether it be passing a stop sign or something like that. So part of the work we do, not only in the direct service business as ESI, but we also we work very strong in the advocacy field. So with the legislature all the time, with trying to change policy so people can change some of the laws that affect the racist outcomes and to affect sentencing. 6% of people who are in jail now are incarcerated for nonviolent drug offenses.
Right.
And so that's a question of maybe addressing some alternatives to incarceration. So if a person you can't incarcerate an addiction, right? So you have to treat an addiction, right? Mm-hmm. So we can have some alternatives so people can go to treatment and still go to work, and can support their families and their children and those kinds of things. So that's very important. So our advocacy work goes along trying to remove things like banning the box. The question that we have on the application that if you've ever been committed of a crime or whatever, usually that if a person checks the box, he hardly ever gets a call back. 95% of the time, they never even get a call back, right? So, and that's also disproportionately toward African American males. So we're moving now to take the box off the application, especially off the front. Banning the box is the term we use, so that at least a person gets a shot at the interview. He can enhance the chances, they say in Georgia. So it doesn't guarantee a job, but it does necessarily, it gives a person a greater shot because now they can talk about themselves, they can have some FaceTime with the employer or the potential employer, and it can change the paradigm of how the employer looks at them after they know that, that was 20 years ago when that happened, or this is what I've done since then, and those kinds of things that never even get talked about because you never even get a shot to come in before. So
that's important rather than just a checkbox being a bias and before the person even gets a chance.
Exactly what it is. And it's a racial bias because it ends up affecting and impacting more African American males than not.
For me, the way I kind of understand it, or at least explain it, is that there is the issues or the sources that end the person up in prison, whether it's bad choices or police, whatever. And then there's a time that one spends in prison. And then, of course, hopefully with a chance to re-enter. I want to address now the issue of while in prison, and the system there? Is it helpful for entry? Does it play a part in how soon you get out, or does it offer opportunities for you to be more successful when you get out? Can you speak a little about that process of being incarcerated?
Well, in the spirit of fairness to the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, which it used to be called the Department of Corrections, they do, especially in North Carolina, have a very good relationship with the Department of Public Safety here in this state, and I have to say that they do offer opportunities for men and women to improve themselves while they're in. The question becomes sometimes whether or not a person has the incentive to do it. All right, and so that's sometimes an issue. And in the old days, there was something called gain time. That means the more classes you took, the less. I mean, it would lessen your sentence. But today they don't have that quite anymore. It's more like your time is set. You know, from the time you're in court until the time that you leave. Could be a few months differential. But for the most part, North Carolina has a good system of classes and workshops and trainings inside. All depends on how long a person has, how much time they have, depending on what they can do. Some people can get certifications for different things, welding, you know, those types of things. Some construction trades. And some cognitive kind of stuff. There's a great class called Thinking for a Change. You know, that's given inside the correctional system. All depends on kind of where people are. The AA and NA type of concepts for people who are in recovery also are given in some instances. So overall, I mean, in all fairness, sometimes the prison system in general gets a bad rap about kind of what happens while a person's in. But in all fairness, the Department of Public Safety in North Carolina, I like to think that it's a fair type of opportunity.
That's good to hear. So now we move from, we talked about the causes that end up incarceration, maybe the time in there, and now we focus on the area where I think your expertise comes in, or your focus on reentry. But it's almost impossible to talk about reentry without recidivism. It seems like they get out, and before they're back in again. So maybe you can enlighten our viewers on the rates of recidivism and what the causes of that and what can be done to maybe help that some?
Very good question. The word recidivism, most people look at it as people coming back. That's the term we use. And the thing about it is, anywhere between 40 and 50% is what the stats are within a 3-year period of time of a person leaving. About 40 to 50% of people are coming back. Now, I'll probably here use this opportunity to give our organization a pat on the back, because our recidivism rates after people come through our program and through our workshops and our classes go from 17 to 9% in that area. Because if a person is interested in creating a rehabilitation kind of network and system, their chances of going back to prison are lessened. Now, with that being said, if you kind of connect the dots where I talked about the number of people who are coming back, right? 700,000 people, that's a lot of people. What people don't think about, and people don't talk about, is not the recidivism rate. They talk about that, and they talk about the cost of incarceration, which is in North Carolina is about $30,000 a year to incarcerate per person per year, right? And if a person could think about reusing those dollars and put them in treatment and rehabilitative services like we do, then we think we can do it for about $10,000 per person. And that's a savings to the state and an opportunity for people to work. But here's the thing: with that many people coming home, and with the rates of recidivism being so high, what people never talk about is the cost of victimization. See, we talk about the cost of incarceration, but imagine 40% of 700,000 people going back. Well, people just don't go back to prison because they say, I want to go back.
Sure.
There's a victim somewhere, right? So people don't talk about the price and the cost of victimization as well, and that's something that, because if we lose track of that concept, then we've got a society that's open to some pretty good public safety issues.
If you're just joining us again, this is the Pastor's Corner here at State Street Community Church. I'm Bishop Carswell Leonard, and my guest, Mr. Dennis Gaddy. we have a very interesting discussion about incarceration. Mr. Gaddy, I want to touch on another sensitive issue that you may or may not want be able to address. You mentioned about the cost of incarceration, but some would argue that the system makes a lot of money on those who are incarcerated. Can you speak to that? Is there any statistics about how much revenue is gained by the system, by those who provide free labor while incarcerated?
I don't have those. I don't have those statistics, but I do know that from a standpoint of a budgetary item, it's the second largest line item behind education in the state budget. So it's about $1.2 billion in budget. I mean, $1 million. What am I saying? Yeah, about $1.2 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a few pennies.
Right.
We have about 10 minutes left. Well, what I want to do now is we talk about reentry and what you do. I want you to describe for our audience the process of, okay, a person who has served time is now reentering into society, and they engage your particular program or others like yours. What is the process? Maybe you can speak for yours. What is the process then of from the time they hit your door to the end product, which is hopefully a productive person who does not end up back in prison? Explain that process a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you. So a person finds us through various ways. They find us maybe from a referral from the judge at court. They find us maybe from a referral source at the homeless shelter. They find us from the bus line. They find us maybe from somebody at the correctional center where they were before they got out. They heard about us. So several ways a person maybe end up at our office. Mm-hmm. Either way, when they get there, the first thing we do is to begin, and I hate this word, but I can't think of another one right now, is to have this intake process. I don't like that word. So we get some information, also beginning the process of getting to know them a little bit. And I think in this case it's a fortunate thing, even though it may not sound like it, but about 80% of our team at CSI are formerly incarcerated men and women. And so people hear you different if they know you share their same story. So imagine sitting down talking to a case manager who knows exactly what you've been through, because they've been through it, right? And while I'm on that, let me also parenthetically talk about languaging, right? I say formerly incarcerated men and women. We try to peopleize language these days rather than using the term ex-offender or ex-con or ex anything. You know, who wants to be known by the worst mistake of their life, right? Who wants to be known for their worst day? Sure. So we personalize language by saying a person formerly incarcerated, a person formerly who went to jail. A person is the operative language. And so I do want to say that, make sure that we understand that people are dignified. You know,
language is important.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm more than a person who went to prison. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a deacon of my church. You know, I'm executive director of a nonprofit organization. Right. I've done some other stuff, right? So it's important that we look at that. Now, so when after a person does our intake process, we have a calendar of about a 30-day period of time in our partnership with the NC Works building here, center here in Raleigh, that houses computers and resume classes and workshops on soft skills, and PNC Bank comes in and does a class on financial management, those kinds of things. So we wrap those services and those classes around our clients and say, okay, well, here's the calendar, and we'll start going over with them and some of them have jobs, so they don't have to work around the calendar. Sometimes it may take 2 months to get a 1 month calendar done, but it all depends on what it is. But at that time, we've created a friendship, partnership kind of relationship with them, getting to know them a little bit, and then you'll find out about other things they may have going on, legal issues, driver's license issues, trying to get some child support caught up. All those kinds of things kind of come together. And we offer some of the direct services in our classes that we teach, but those things that we don't offer, we farm it out kind of to other people that we know do it. And also we've entered into a new relationship with the Department of Health and Human Services to work with people who are in recovery. So people who have addictions to alcohol or drugs, and also have a criminal record. Sometimes it's a double whammy with them because of the recovery issue and have issues with the criminal record. Right. So now we've partnered with a system called Access to Recovery that allows us to work with them on a more kind of relationship level as well. So once that happens in that 30, 45-day period of time, you'd be surprised at some of the light bulbs that come on in people's minds without us trying to have to find them a job necessarily. The empowerment process and the coaching process that we do, they find their own jobs, you know, and they find that their light bulbs come on, skill sets kick in, Yeah, I can do that. I did that for 5 years. I was a forklift driver. I was a chef. So we began kind of talking in a positive way, and I think that it helps them to know they've got somebody coaching and somebody buddy,
Right.
beside them, rather than just trying to fight this thing by themselves. Because it can be pretty daunting, if it's just you getting turned down every day. And one of the things that society has to work on, and I think, Pastor, maybe your church can help with this, is that people need to understand about forgiveness.
Yes.
Right. Forgiveness is a powerful word, but a very overlooked word sometimes, right? So, so that if you make it like, if a person goes to check a box, he never gets a call back. He checks a box, never gets a call back. If society makes it hard to do what's right, then you make it easy to do what's wrong. You say get a job, that's the right thing to do, right? Housing, that's the right thing to do. But every time you try to do the right thing, all these boundaries pop up, and it's just frustrating.
Sure it is.
So unless you got somebody that you can call and lean on and cry with sometimes, and just be frustrated with sometimes, it can be pretty hard. So we kind of act as that hub for people to kind of act as a director of traffic for them to go to other things that they may be doing, including faith-based opportunities and church as well.
Well, we have a few minutes left. Just one more question, and then we're going to have you offer some information for those who may be interested in your program.
Okay.
Is there any direct cost to the individual as relates to this program?
Nope. Everything with us is free. We're fortunate to have some support service partners that help fund our work. Still not enough, as a nonprofit, but it allows us to do the work that we do without a cost to the client.
Great. And we're going to give you an opportunity to offer some contact information to the
Sure.
audience in case they need to contact you. Where can they do
Sure.
that? How can you do that?
If a person wants to contact us at Community Success Initiative, you can do it one of two ways or both ways. Our website is communitysuccess.org, www.communitysuccess.org, or they can call us at area code 919-715-0111, and our extension is 239. Again, that's 919-715-0111, extension 239, or they can go to the website and email us from there as well at inquiry@communitysuccess.org. And I'll be glad. Our office hours usually are from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock most days, because we're in and out of the office in the field with some things, working with employers and things like that. But we've got a staff there, so if they want to call and maybe make an appointment, that may be appropriate too. But we don't turn anybody down. So we're open to all people who are seeking help.
So again, thank you so very much. Very informative. You've been listening to Pastor's Corner here at Station Community Church. I hope you've enjoyed this session. We look forward to the next session. God bless you, and we'll see you at the next Pastor's Corner.
Hello, I'm Bishop Carswell Leonard, and I'm the senior pastor here at Station Community Church. Station Community Church is a place to connect. Because of technology, we live in a world where it seems like we're more connected than we've ever been. You can literally connect with someone on the other side of the world in just seconds. Ironically, however, on a relational level, it seems like we're more disconnected than we've ever been. The church should be a place where we can connect because of our relationship with God. Station Community Church seeks to provide opportunities to connect through our dynamic worship services, our small group ministry, our special guest receptions, and a host of other events held here at the church. So come on, and let's get connected. Station Community Church is also a place to grow as believers in Jesus Christ. There is nothing more important than growing in your faith as a Christian. At Station Community Church, we provide growth opportunities through our weekly Bible studies, our new believers class, and our small group Bible studies. So come on, and let's grow together.
Station Community Church is also a place where you can serve. Jesus said, "The greatest among you shall be your servant." Every believer has been called to serve. The church should be a place that provides opportunities for us to serve each other. At Station Community Church, there is no lack of opportunities for you to serve. From distributing food and clothing to the needy, to serving at an annual community day. State Street Community Church is a place where you can serve. So, if you're looking for a place to get connected, a place to grow, and a place to serve, State Street Community Church is a church for you. We're located in the southeast section of Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're a church that's committed to transforming our community one life at a time.